Next, we're really honored to welcome Carol Spoehr. She is the lead teacher and director of curriculum at One City Schools in Madison, Wisconsin, the first Anji Play pilot site outside of China. Thank you, Carol. Let me just pull this up for you. It's all you.
I am so honored and blessed to be with you today. So I'm going to start because I've already started crying, so let's stop. A little about me. So I grew up in rural Wisconsin, about 45 minutes from Watertown. Went to UW-Madison for my undergrad and decided never to leave. So when I left college, I got a job at Dane County Head Start for 29 years. Before that, in college, I helped start a child care center. So now I'm going on 32, 34 years with the 3 years at One City. And I consider myself a play-based person. Always had play-based curriculum. High scope, creative curricula, developmentally up. Whoa. We don't need that yet. All right, slow down, Carol. And developmentally appropriate were all the buzzwords that I grew up with in my career as an early childhood teacher. I had this play thing down. We had teacher-directed time. We had small group time where I gave them a question and they figured something out, like how many bears can you float out a boat you made? There was child-initiated time. They got to choose what they were doing and make pathways and have fun. Hands-on learning, I didn't need to do it. Give the stuff to them, they'll figure it out, right? And then my nieces were never immune to this either, because that's how I watch them. And you observe what children are doing so that you can do authentic assessment. Watch what kids are doing, assess what they're doing, and go on. And then I started at One City, and February of 2016, Ms. Chun, along with Dr. Bailey, and others came and did a presentation for us. I seen it, fell in love, and Kaleem Kher, our CEO, said, we're doing it. So we started to do it. And I was in the toddler room when we moved into our renovated building. I had toddlers. Toddler play is easy. They already self-direct their play. This was a piece of cake. And this is, I wish I could have got the video. This is a 18-month-old Jazz, first time with paint. She was covered from head to toe. Everybody else at school was like, you let her do that? I said, how's she gonna figure out what paint is if she ain't paint herself? So I had this. And then Alexander came into my life. He's a 2.5-year-old, nonverbal little boy. And I started to notice that when he played in water, he started to rub the water, and he'd be there 45 minutes if I'm doing self-stimulation behavior. And I was like, I got this too. I've taught for 32 years. We need to replace that behavior because that's what we always were taught to do. But I stepped back a little bit, and I asked Dr. Bailey, I said, so, what would an Angie teacher do? And she said, well, why are you replacing the behavior? And I said, well, because I've always been told to replace the behavior. And she said, why? Which then got me frustrated. Like, just tell me the answer, okay? And she, through that, goes, is that behavior hurting anybody? Is it hurting the child? No. Is it hurting other kids? No. Was it making you uncomfortable? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yep. She hit the nail. But that's what I'm supposed to replace it. She said, and here's where my transformation started. She said, how do you know that that behavior isn't what Alexander needs to learn? I couldn't answer yes. I couldn't answer no. So I did what I had to do, and I just let him do it. And he'd play with buckets, and the old me would have checked the box and said he could do this and move on. As I started as an Angie teacher, it was like, what is he really telling me? He loved patterns. Everything needed to be lined up. He loves shapes. I don't know many other 2-year-olds that could go through a big bucket of box and find 12 little pieces to make a circle perfectly. And then we started play stories. Alexander, when he would have crayons or markers in his hand, colored everything. If I didn't have paper on the table was markered. Well, when we started play stories, he got very controlled with his movement. And his marks were purposefully put. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. But he's nonverbal. So the other 2-year-olds in the class, 2.5, were starting to tell their stories for play. And I'm like, oh, so now what? What do I do with this nonverbal 2.5-year-old who appears to be telling me something? So I started watching more. And when he noticed that I noticed that he was drawing purposefully, he started to run to the window and point to things in the class that he was playing with. So I was like, okay. So Alexander, did you play with the buckets today? And he would smile. If I said, oh, we played in the front with ladders, and he made circles that I knew were buckets, he would screech this horrible screech and was just inconsolable. This is Alexander today. I know in the bottom of my heart that this little boy now is verbal, and it's because part of me let him be him and let him learn the way that Alexander needed to learn. So how has my practice changed? I've said it earlier. In the past, I would have looked on my assessment and said, oh, he's putting water in a bucket that fits this one. Check a box, move on. But now I look deeper. I look to see what children are really doing. In this picture, first he filled each bucket proportionate to the next one at different levels. And then he went back with the hose and filled the whole bucket. I'm like, oh, so you're 2.5 and you're actually aerating water? I can't find the right container size to put leftovers away. I also started to be more patient with children and became to know who they were. I became their play. They were painting just my toenails. Somehow my foot got covered. And I enjoy children so much more. When they are doing something, my heart just is joyful. So, Angie Play has made me, I used to see children with my eyes, and now through Angie Play, I see children with my heart. And that makes all the difference in the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carol.